nervous?
No.
Where's your answer?
Dennis Beckham, let the ball on! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Dennis Beckham! Oh!
Oh, no! Oh, yes! He missed it.
Welcome to the Suffering from Joy podcast, and we have a rare occurrence. We had the eclipse recently, and now we've seen something that hasn't happened since last summer. We've all been waiting. It seems like it's been forever, but it really hasn't, and we're all really excited that the NHL playoffs are back. Additionally, we got a thirst trap photo where everybody hadn't done it in so long that they looked really confused about why they were there and what they were doing. But of course, really what we're all excited about is Austin FC with another Copa Tejas fantastic victory, 1-0 at the Houston Dynamo. Joining me today, Brad Tillery, who's rooting for the Avalanche in the NHL playoffs. Brad, how you doing?
Abs start today, so very excited for the playoffs to get rolling, and still shocked as hell that Austin FC somehow came out with a victory last night.
Yeah, nice win for the Canes, who were sort of my B team yesterday to open the playoffs. Charles Peacock of the False Nine, Texas. How are you feeling today?
I'm feeling really good. Winning always feels good. Winning on the road is better. Winning against a rival is even better than that. And onward to another Copa Tejas.
Yeah. We're going to hopefully get into the permutations a little bit later in the show about that. But any big NHL playoff thoughts?
No, I kind of gave up on that one. I'm sorry. I kind of gave up on the NHL when the Nordiques left.
Okay. So you got a little rivalry going with Brad here.
Sure.
But what are your opinions on the Yotes leaving?
It's better than playing at Arizona State.
It is, but I think one of the things that's kind of interesting about that is I don't see Salt Lake City getting an NHL team and an MLB team, and so it kind of takes them out of the running to get the A's.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. As someone who's a Golden Knights fan, suddenly you get to a point going from the Golden Knights come in, then you go to the Raiders are coming in, now maybe the A's are coming in, the NBA's coming in, Don Garber's interested. I don't know. It just sort of flows.
All right. Seth, how you feeling about the game now that we got the NHL side of everything covered?
Well, the other NHL take is the Leafs lost last night, and that's always a good thing. So that means that there's
fucking course they did. It's the first round. It's what they do.
Hey, that means we only need 15 more losses to eliminate Canada from winning a Stanley Cup once again.
Doing the Lord's work every year.
Yes. No, last night was a sit back and pray. We only had to clench for Stuver 7 times last night. So that was a victory in and of itself.
Yeah, I thought it was weird too that towards the end of the game they were kind of complimenting Stuver on the broadcast, and they were like, "Well, Houston just keeps shooting it straight at him," and I was like, "No, he's had 3 or 4 really really nice saves."
Yes, and he did a really good job of not one of Stuver's things that he has had some issues with, despite being an outstanding goalkeeper for this team for the past 3.5 years, is that sometimes he allows for easy rebounds, and he did a great job last night of not allowing any Houston rebounds in and effectively helping allow our defense to relatively neutralize Machiache once he returned in the second half.
Yeah. I want to kind of we've done this segment in the past, and I want to bring it back just for this game. I don't know if we're going to keep doing it. Something that's, we'll call it moment of the match, but something that really stood out to you is defining either this game in good way, bad way. Obviously different than how we do moment of suffering, but I think there are a few obvious choices we can go with here. But Charles, do you have a big moment of the match that, one way or another you thought kind of defined the game?
The obvious one is the goal, so I'm going to skip that one. It was at the end of the first half when Houston got a really good chance where they essentially overloaded the backside against Gallagher. They actually had 3 players there just against Gallagher. And that was kind of Stuver's best save, but he was so well positioned that it ended up being kind of easy for him. But that kind of went to show Houston wasn't able to play the way they normally wanted to play through the middle. And their chances of scoring just required a lot of intricate passes or trying to go through the heart of the defense. And Austin just wasn't able to let them do that. And I think as the game went on, Austin got more confident defensively. to where they knew that they could keep Houston off the scoreboard.
Yeah, that's a good choice. And obviously not getting like a backbreaker goal against you going into halftime always helps. Seth, any moments of the match for you?
I would say the first half, I think it was around like the 22nd, 23rd minute when Brendan Hines got a very big clearance when it looked like Houston was going to have a clear chance to take an early lead. Because we know if Houston had gotten an early goal there, that I don't see a way that this team would have come back because this team just isn't. I mean, yes, we got a road goal last night for the first time in over 400 minutes. But like this team is not made to come back on the road, and pretty much how we won last night was the only like template I could see us winning games on the road outside of getting a like random penalty here or there, which I'd actually have to check when last time we got a road penalty is because I can't think of it right now. But it is, as we go through it, Heinz Ike and Hedges, which I was a little nervous about their pairing before the match, actually came together pretty well. And I wouldn't be surprised if we see that pairing in a voluntary sense at some point moving forward in the next few months, especially with Julio being away for Copa America.
Yeah, I think we had one earlier in the year when Julio was on international duty too. That Heinz Ike block, I literally had like my forehead almost already in my like the palm of my hand watching it because I was so certain it was going to the back of the net. And then the broadcast actually cut out too for me. Glitched, and so I didn't get to see it until the replay. I was just like, how did the ball not go in? What was going on? Brad, any moments of the match for you? And you can take the easy one if you want to.
No. Actually, mine was the same as Charles's earlier. I thought the save right at the end of the first half on the overload was massive because it kept us 0-0. Like, and as Seth just said, like, if we fall down 1-0, we're out of that game. The way that game was playing out, the way we were playing, I thought that save was indicative of how we played the first half, because I thought the first half was pretty well overall, actually. But it just kept us in. It kept us a little bit of hope, and I thought from that point on we were gonna get out of there with a draw, unless Hector Herrera came in and did something special. So to me, that was kind of the key moment, besides the obvious one of scoring a goal. And Seth, to answer your question, the last road penalty we got was the win. Also, our last road win prior to this at Minnesota last year, the 4-1 win.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm glad you've already double checked me there.
Well, our last two matches at Minnesota, Dreusi has had a PK.
Yeah.
Interesting. I don't know that. I thought we were slow like the first 10 minutes, but after that, I was surprised how well we kind of came out of the blocks and dealt with everything. And, we were kind of cracking jokes about it. Nice chance for Rashford here in the FA Cup semifinal, but we're kind of cracking jokes like, oh, this is our highest XG in a road game already. Oh, we're already ahead of our total XG on the road for the year so far, like in the first half, both. I guess I'm ahead of you guys.
Yeah, you're somehow like...
All right. I won't give spoilers. I'll just react when you guys react. But yeah, I thought we grew into it. I'm going to go a little alternative on my moment of the match because it's Verde Mercury of a great friend of the podcast. We'll just go with Dad, we'll call him, with a very Freddie Mercury pose that if you haven't seen yet, you will. They're already selling patches of it. So... I think it'll be not quite, Pollo and DC iconic, but it'll be an iconic lasting image in club lore.
Okay.
Or at least among the fans.
Sure.
But yeah, we kind of got into the game a little bit already. First half thoughts, really, they were moving the ball pretty well first 10 minutes or so, but And, we just kept coming back and we actually had shots and we had possession and we were not just like trying to do the same thing over and over. We were pulling Rubio out into different positions. We were playing the ball back. We were moving Dreusi around. We had the wingers coming in. We had the wingers combining with interior players. Like it didn't look like the same team we've had in a while. Any big thoughts there going forward? Just on the first half in general?
I'm right there with you. I thought it was the absolute most free-flowing we have played on the road in a long time for the first 45 minutes. We were there. Yeah, I think if you watch that St. Louis game and you watch the other two road games we played this year, we kind of just showed up looking for a draw if we could get one. And last night, it felt like we showed up looking to try to get a win in that first half. Second half's totally different story. I felt we kind of fell back into some patterns in the second half. But, there were some really nice movements, good shots. Even everybody's on ring, but he hit it right at the keeper. But at least we put one on net for a change, right? I think my biggest frustration was at times we had opportunities to do a little more. There was a play where Rubio had a ton of space in front of him in the final third, and then he immediately passed the ball out wide. And I know that's probably how the system's designed, but dude, just take the ball forward, force the defense to come to you. Overall, I thought it was a very positive half of soccer. We also saw early, and y'all had mentioned the play for Heinz Ike where he cleared one out. There was another play where there was a Houston player going with the ball towards our goal in the 18. And it was a little bit of a break. Hedges is trailing Heinz Ike, and they both took a route that forced the ball back outside, which is just not something we've seen happen a whole lot, especially when Julio has been in there. So I thought that was an early indicator for me that the decision making on the back line was much more solid, and we could probably trust it the rest of the game. So I thought there was a ton of encouraging signs early in the game.
Yeah, mostly that we came out to, you can kind of play defensive and try to nick a goal, which is what we ended up doing in this game. But a couple of the games that looked like, nope, 0-0 is the max we're going to do. We're not even going to really try to go after them. And I think it's a big contrast. We obviously didn't do a show after the St. Louis game due to some scheduling stuff, but big contrast in how we played in both of those games. Yeah. Do a little terminology quiz. Charles, would you call that a smash and grab?
Yes.
Yes? Okay. I would just call it a counterattack win. We had some shots.
No, but
I don't know. I feel like it's part of the reason it's a smash and grab was because it happened so late. Like, I'm not sure that, like, and so, like, because it looks so much like two teams who aren't good at attacking, we're going to end in a 0-0 draw, but, like, just a random goal sparking up does seem more of a smash and grab, immediately leave.
And also,
can I call it a Real Madrid?
No, but like you start looking at that, and like if we pull up the second half stats here, like that was our only shot on goal in the second half. We did not. If we had gotten that goal, like if we had played in the second half like we had in the first half, I would not consider it a smash and grab. But considering how the first 40 minutes of the second half went, absolutely.
Okay, it's a road win. I don't think anybody cares. I was just curious what the panel had to say. I did notice too. Like we can go ahead and talk about it now. Like the second half. Yeah, we definitely shifted into let's sit back and try to not do anything stupid mode for a while. Do we think that was like a halftime instruction, or do you think it was just sort of, reverting to form for some of the guys out on the pitch?
I think it was both.
Okay.
I actually thought it worked really well and was smart. It forced, especially with the way that it looked when essentially we were playing with a four-man front line, did really well in keeping Houston from being able to progress the ball just sequentially to where they were having to make longer passes through the midfield that gave Danny and Ring and Heinz like a little more time to be able to cut those balls out. And it really kind of, by bringing the forward line back, they were able to compress Houston's midfield to where they just didn't have space to really try to connect or do anything.
Yeah, and we also did. Go ahead.
And I think you also have to remember we were playing with two center backs. We didn't even have a backup center back on our bench last night. So the fact that we kept the same back four, like yesterday was the first time that Biru had ever played 90 minutes for us. That we didn't make yes, you could argue obviously that we made a defensive substitution of taking Danny out for Valencia near the end of the match. But for the most part, we were playing we had to do something that we knew that we wouldn't overextend our back line. So we didn't, because we really, yes, you could have brought on John, but or maybe even Hector for a few minutes, but there weren't that many options back there, especially at center back. So that sort of made that second half strategy make a little more sense.
Yeah, we also, at least for periods, went ahead and decided, actually, this might have just been Biru going rogue, to solve my biggest pet peeve with the way we play defensively, which is not just letting anybody who wants to cross the ball in.
Yes.
We were actually stepping out and challenging some people and not just letting them wing ball after ball after ball in, which is nice.
I thought it was pretty obvious too. We were sitting back in that mid block, right? And the moment that Houston would get the ball there was a point, I don't know, 70th minute or so. Houston would get the ball in the roughly final third, getting over in our half of the field. And the moment they got into that area with a pass, they tried to pass in there, we swarmed, especially up the middle. It was an immediate swarm of the ball and actually sprung a couple of counterattacks. If we had any more speed, I actually think the idea to counter like that last night would have been more effective than it even was getting the one that we got when we finally did put a little more youth and legs on the field. But they were, like Charles said, they were damn intent last night to not let Houston play up the middle, which kudos to them and kudos to Josh for setting a team up like that last night.
Yeah. We talk every now and then about, hey, it looks like the game plan might have been good, but you guys didn't plot it out well enough, or you didn't make adjustments, or, things like that. And I think the game plan was try to hit on the counter, clog up the middle. Didn't need to adjust, I guess, really. And, came out with a win. We want to talk about the goal now that we filled 15 minutes of airtime, not talking about the goal yet.
Sure.
Yes.
Sure. Okay. Well, I guess first of all, when you guys saw the lineup, did anybody know CJ was going to be on the bench before the game?
Yes. So he was on the bus yesterday. It was pretty clear.
Okay. I wasn't sure if that had leaked out and I just missed it or what.
As for the Copa Tejas matches, we they charter some Vaughn lanes and take them down to the other parts of the state. So yeah, when he was in the pregame pictures, it was pretty clear. I mean, again, we had 2 unused bench spots. I think next week, well, if everyone is, if Leo is back, which he should be, I don't think he'll start, but he'd probably be a bench option available. And Julio's back from suspension. No one else got suspended. I think that'll be the first time that we can run out a true first team 20-man roster all season, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. Even so, seeing him on the bench, I was like, oh, well, we're just filling roster spots like when we threw Jimmy on there. So I was a little surprised to see him on the field at all. Happily so. Different option at least, but
so I'll get into that. We'll get into that conversation, but I'm not convinced he sees the field if Owen Wolff is healthy.
Oh, I'm pretty convinced he doesn't, but
yeah.
But you know what? He made a difference yesterday, and that should matter on a certain point. But we're talking about Josh Wolff here, so I'm not sure. But you know what? He looked better than Ethan Findlay did yesterday, and I'm not just saying that because he won a key header.
No, he was. I thought for overall play, he was our best winger on the field yesterday. If you take thick compact and what they did on the field and the time they put in, the shift they put in, I thought he was the best winger we had.
Active with the ball, did a great job tracking back on D.
Yeah.
Tried a couple new things, went after a guy.
I think Finley was kind of the definition last night of eating up some MLS minutes. He just kind of was there. Going back to the goal, I was trying to think about the last time Austin really scored a Route 1 goal like that, and I was thinking maybe it was the opening match against St. Louis last season with Driussi, but even then that wasn't a flicked on header situation. And then I realized that Austin's never really had anybody who could win a header like that.
Yeah,
I mean, you would think Zardes would be able to. He doesn't.
Well,
but he should
you'd also think.
To.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in theory this should be the way it works, but in actual practice, we've not had a striker who can do that. Maybe Hosen could have had he ever been healthy, but we didn't really ever get a chance to see that.
Yeah, and I'm sure part of it too is the playing style. We will literally rather give the ball away than play lump it to the big fucker a ton. But I guess that's not even really what we were doing here because he's a winger coming inside, not a striker. So
yeah. There was definitely a considered effort to get him a little more central whenever we were playing long out of the back, as it happened again a few minutes after that. And it just kind of goes to show that, after the Open Cup match when we were talking about Fodry, like he was the one guy on Austin FC too who physically can just play in MLS that you can just throw him in there and he's fine.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
this,
did you see the post game picture, by the way? That dude is ripped.
Yeah,
Guy's a beast.
He was definitely hitting the gym and hopefully not the roids over the off season.
no, I mean, this don't help you a ton with getting in like soccer fitness.
Yeah. Well, we don't know. I don't know.
Well, true.
None of us are doctors.
Yeah, the traditional view of no.
Let's not speculate on our own players using steroids and instead just be convinced that like Michael Boxall does because that's why he's so angry.
Yeah, I like that we finally win a road game and all of us are just like, well, somebody was probably doing illicit substances and we sort of maybe cheated by like juicing our players. I don't know. It's the only rational explanation. Just not even half an hour in and we're already doing this. Okay. But yeah, it was nice to see him get on. Nice to see him play. I'm going to put another brick in my wall of the coaching staff clearly watches a lot of Arsenal because this is what they do with Kai Havertz a lot now. Even if he's playing midfield striker on the wing, whatever, like whenever that ball gets launched forward, he's the one who goes up and wins it. And that's pretty much what they did with CJ. Like you don't have to go up and like flick it on, but like knock it down, get it to one of, near one of our guys. Don't just give it back type of thing. And yeah, I would, especially on the road, if we're going to try to play that counter attack style, I would love to see some Route 1, like just fuck you old style Brexit ball. Give me a big guy and a fast guy and lump it forward.
Yeah, I think the other interesting thing about the CJ sub last night and the Rigoni sub at the same time, did you notice that they allowed CJ to play his normal natural position on the left side?
Yep.
Because that was indicative of me of, I don't know if it's, they just don't think CJ's comfortable on the right and they know Rigoni can play on the right as well, or has CJ overtaken Rigoni on the left side in training? That was it raised a couple of flags for me, just how this team is thinking right now.
I don't know. I wouldn't read too much into that. Like Rigoni's nominally 2-footed, and you're throwing CJ in for like what are really kind of his first big minutes. It's on the road in a rivalry game. Granted, there are like 4 fucking Houston fans there, but you still don't want to like psychologically shock a player or something. But yeah, you never know. I mean, maybe he did. And then maybe Riggles won it back with a goal. So,
which, by the way, was his best goal in an Austin uniform.
I don't know. He's had some good ones when they actually go in.
I feel like that last night, having to settle the ball down, hit it on the run, go far post, like that was a tough goal.
That was if you've watched Aston Villa this year, that's what Ollie Watkins does. Run, touch, bang, bottom corner off the post and in. Except he like does it on purpose and a lot, but like it very much looks like, well, I'm trying to give him a compliment. Like it very much looked like a professional forward, like kind of pacey striker, winger forward, whatever you want to call him, goal.
Yeah, like it's an indicative goal of why everybody buys into the idea that like Rigoni is going to be this like great attacker, because he does have like this level of skill and this level of competency. It just, he doesn't show it consistently enough to be worth a price tag. But you can clip together a highlight reel of Rigoni and be like, oh, that guy's really fucking good.
Yeah, if all you do is watch his YouTube reel, he's great.
Yeah, and you can overlay it with his band music.
There you go. Now all you got to do is get was Maxi back in town this week?
He was.
Okay, so that might have been part of it too. Maybe he was giving Rigoni some Asadero lessons as well.
Yeah, I mean, Maxi went to a team that did not go very far in the Copa de la Liga in Argentina, so they're already in their first off-season in their bizarre format. I don't know how much you guys know about the Argentine season format, but makes MLS seem very straightforward.
But do they do anything beyond just like Apertura, Clausura?
Yeah, they have one tournament that they alternate years between spring and fall that is 14 games, and the other one is 28 games.
Oh, okay. That's just silly.
Yes. So it's not even like consistent of which. So right now that they are finishing their back-to-back 14-game season playoff before later this summer, the 28-game season that runs for the rest of the year starts.
Sure. Why not? You wonder why people are leaving there for MLS. They got to keep up with their own schedule.
Yes.
This is
Yeah,
like the
they don't
scene
want
in
this make your
basketball
own
where they're
hours
explaining
shit.
all the. No, it's like the scene in basketball where they're like explaining the playoff permutations for 2 minutes.
The opening scene of that where they talk about all the teams moving is an absolute classic too. Since we were talking about the Yotes and moving to Utah earlier.
Oh, I did miss my chance to go in here. That I would like to congratulate Utah on their first NHL victory yesterday, where they beat a lapless Chicago team 4-0.
Nice.
Yeah, I was not at Soldier Field last night, but yeah, 4-0. Woo.
Yeah.
You know what?
I saw the
At
highlights.
least,
It was bad.
as I say, at least in Austin FC history, we have never lost a match 4-0 at home.
No, we got pasted by Dallas that one time, but
I mean, that was 5-3. At least we scored.
true. Alrighty. So it was a great goal. Did you guys get nervous we were going to screw it up?
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, like,
100%.
were there actually moments where you thought Houston was going to put the ball in the net? Because I thought we actually saw it out relatively comfortable. But yeah, I was definitely terrified, especially because the announcers kept like trying to will it to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, Houston always scores in
wanted-
these scenarios.
They really wanted Herrera to score a goal last night. They were openly rooting for that.
It felt like every time he completed a pass, we would get another detail on he is now 15 for 18. He's like, okay, like who else are we doing this where we aren't counting Driussi's passes here. We aren't counting anyone else's passes, but he's Ache. And like, don't get me wrong, he was great last year. He had a MVP quality season last year, but we'll see what he produces this year. But if I were a Houston fan, that would be the only bright spot I'd be looking at in this match, that he looked like a solid player for the 35 minutes he was on the pitch.
Yeah, there was a point where they showed his pass map, and I think he had made like 12 passes at that point or something. It was just like, why bother? Okay, whatever. They're like, this is what a great central midfielder box-to-box pass map looks like. And I was just like, okay, but he's made 12 passes.
Don Garber told them that's what they had to highlight.
Yeah, I'm sure Apple's perfectly happy to push whatever, like star player. But yeah, he was good. I don't really, maybe I'm just misremembering, but I don't think they had like a great whack at goal and we had to like clear it off the line or Stuver had to make a great save or anything. We actually like kind of defended it out pretty well.
No, there was nothing that was clinch worthy in there. I was just pretty convinced that we would somehow find a way to give up a goal.
Just like stupid penalty or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Two guys run into each other and fall over on a set piece. One of those classics.
We can't have nice things kind of way, right? So
yeah. Like that moment where the goal goes in, you start laughing because it's Rigoni, and then you start to have the little like, oh shit moment at the bottom of your stomach.
Yeah, exactly.
Suffering from joy, if you will.
Yes.
Okay, cool. We got that done. You guys want to do I guess we should talk about the referee a little bit because we do that all the time. Mostly fine with this guy. Didn't love. There was a point where I think it was Karaskia rips down Driussi and leg whips him at the same time in a great way to tear somebody's knee apart. Doesn't get a yellow for it, and then 2 seconds later comes back and rips him down again and karate chops him in the neck, and the ref's fine all right, yellow. But other than that, I thought he was mostly good. Maybe kept his cards in his pocket more than he should have, but I don't know if that hurt us too much. Any thoughts from any of you?
Houston Twitter was mad about him. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
Looking through some of their stuff, they thought he put the card out too much. I thought he was fine. Houston played pretty rough last night. If we're trying to be somewhat objective about how we watched that game, there was a lot of jersey pulling, a lot of pulling guys down. I thought I don't want to say dirty necessarily, but it wasn't the cleanest of games on their side. And I didn't see a single yellow that was undeserved that they got.
Yeah, let's say on the edge.
Yeah.
And there were definitely moments that got towards dirty.
Yeah.
But, I don't think there's there have been games where you go out and you're like, all these guys are trying to do is hurt people. It wasn't anything quite that bad. Yeah, but especially compared to the lovely time we had with Ted Uncle the week before.
Did Anybody think this match moved a lot better and quicker with the new injury and stoppage time rules?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It definitely moved better. I didn't put that together though.
Yeah, no, I was definitely like seeing how fast that that Danny came off the field there, especially like near the end. It's like, oh yes, we can get everyone off the field in 10 seconds. This is possible. And I feel like this will be, it was not as much of a talking point for today's match, but I guarantee you in the next 5 matches, we will have someone who forgets that this new rule is in place and goes from there. The thing we did not see last night in this match, but was, and I didn't get to watch too much other MLS matches yesterday, but through Slack and other places, heard that was a thing, is now the new in-stadium VAR announcements. And it sounds like that will be an interesting thing when we have to deal with the first one of those.
Yeah, I think it happened in the Vancouver-Seattle match.
Yeah.
I saw the replay on that on the wrap-up show last night. It was interesting to see. I mean, it was nice. It was very clearly explained by the ref, and if they continue that, that'll be it'll be a nice change to me because I actually like getting the explanation in the stadium instead of having to guess. And by the way, the first person in this league that's going to completely screw up the get up in time is Luis Suarez.
Yep.
Yes.
Without a question.
Yeah, we did also have that trial run. Like, was it 15 seconds into the game where I think it was Artur goes down, like holding his face or something, even though nothing really happened on the play, and then the ref's talking to him and he tries to get him off the field, and so it was kind of nice to get that out of the way. Just like everybody's still a little amped up about the game even starting, and then immediately we're like, okay, well now we all know how this is going to work, and everybody remembers. It won't shock me if like that doesn't happen in a match until like the 30th minute and the ref just forgets about it a couple of weeks down the line. But yeah, it definitely flowed better. Brad, on the VAR announcements, do they actually like give details, or is it just like no penalty?
No, it was a red card. So there was like after review, the ruling is that there was excessive use of force, whatever the actual ruling was, right? And thus a red card penalty.
Okay.
Red card issued. It wasn't a penalty, but a red card issued.
Okay. No, that's interesting.
So they actually give you the reasoning behind the red card.
Do they like come out to the center circle, or is it like standing by the little TV monitor still?
They come out, but it's not necessarily about the center circle. I think it's just where it's convenient to where the next play is going to close to start.
Okay, so kind of NFL-y.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's not bad. Yeah, I always think that's good, and like I'm glad I think it was FIFA was the one blocking it, where we can now actually see extra time in the stadium and just kind of common sense things as the game gets more and more of like a TV spectacle that you're not missing when you're in the stadium. I think is nice. Yeah, I don't have a ton of other like huge notes on the game. Anything else you guys want to touch on or think maybe we missed or discuss a little more in depth?
Not particularly. I mean, I felt the game was kind of straightforward. Honestly, there's not a whole lot to talk about in the game. It was a really defensive battle between the two lowest XG teams in the league, which we all kind of expected to go in. I think everyone was stunned that we came out with the goal the way we did, especially with Rigoni being the one to score, right? But other than that, it kind of played out the way most of us thought the game was going to play out last night.
Yeah, I mean, I thought Stuver was great as always. Like his positioning was really good, and he did a good job of controlling rebounds, which he's not always great at. I mean, Philmob has the XG last night is 1.67 for Houston and 0.76 for Austin. So, I mean, there were some decent chances, but
I felt like Houston had a lot of those like 0.08 XG chances. Like, you know, you're maybe getting quite a few shots, but not. There is nothing other than like, you know, we kind of covered the blocks and the couple big Stuber saves, but there was nothing that I was just like, oh my God, how'd he miss it? Or we're really lucky there or anything like that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So let's level set. We got 2 Copa Tejas wins. There's a new Copa Tejas formula this year that's weird and complicated, and I don't know if we need to get into this moment, but it's essentially a points per game model, since the league hates us and makes sure we all play different amounts of games. We got a lead, obviously. 2 games played, 2 games won. It's as good as you can do. I think we're at a point where if we get 7 more points out of Copa Tejas games,
I think by points per game, if we win the next 2 games, it's over.
nice. And we have 2 more against each, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So we'll play. They
And
play each other. The other 2 play each other next week. So Dallas and Houston play in Frisco next week. If that goes out to a draw, it really opens up the opportunity for us to, if we win the 2 after that, to clinch everything pretty quickly.
Nice.
Is there a good way for us to clinch Copa Tejas while playing in Frisco again?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it
As
would
tradition.
require us losing or drawing the first game in Frisco, probably beating Houston. Yeah, there's a few I have to run through everything, but yes, there is a possibility.
Okay. But we could have this wrapped up in a month or 2, like before we even get to the late season ones, in theory.
Yes.
So there is a possibility, according to our friend Moises, that this could be wrapped up at home on 5/15 against Houston before you even go to Frisco.
And that would require them to draw once or twice,
if they draw next week,
okay.
and then we win 2 in a row, the 2 May matches after that draw, then yeah, Copa Tejas would be ours. It says 5/15. I think 5/18 on the road is what he means, because there's only 2 the 2 May matches for us to win would be 5/18 at home, or 5/15 at home, and then 5/18 on the road.
And
right?
the 5/18 is in Frisco, right?
Oh no, 5/11's in Frisco. 5/15 is Houston. So yeah,
Okay.
we would actually win it at home against Houston,
And actually be able to celebrate it?
Yes.
Okay. Good. Let's look forward to it. Yeah, I don't know. I guess if somebody has to win that game, we want it to be Frisco because they're worse.
Yeah.
But obviously rooting for a draw.
I mean, obviously rooting for a draw. And I'm going to go the other way. If somebody is going to win that game, I kind of want it to be Houston, because that keeps Frisco in contention for the spoon, and that's just funny.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good reason too.
Yeah,
Thinking
no,
about
I'm
multiple
feeling
competitions here.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel like a month or 2 ago we talked about which conference the wooden spoon was going to come out of, and I'm feeling really good it's going to be a West team still.
Yeah, I was looking at the standings, and the our 2 prior victories, those clubs are not looking great, and everybody's waiting for Seattle, and they're not launching yet. So we'll see. You mentioned the spoon, and we've kind of been joking about Austin FC as a contender. We're in a real playoff position right now. As of this recording, we're in 7th in the West.
Yeah, and as of the recording, we are 3 points out of first place. Or 4 points out of first. Sorry, Vancouver got the win last night. That's going to change.
Yeah,
because the Galaxy are going to absolutely crush San Jose tonight.
It's a California Classico. Weird stuff happens.
Rivalry game.
Yeah, they went and smashed them 3-1 against San Jose just a few weeks ago. Until San Jose proves otherwise, I'm going to guess that Galaxy beats the absolute shit out of them.
yeah.
So yeah, we'll be
I
6 points out of first, but we're in a log jam there for the next couple of spots.
Yeah, Charles,
I mean,
did you have a
the
stat on
joy
this?
of yeah, the joy of MLS is that had Austin, you can take away 2 goals, either for or against Austin, and turn them either into the tied for the conference lead or an 11th. So if you take away the equalizers by Philadelphia and San Jose and St. Louis, they'd be on 16 points. And if you take away the goal against, if you take away the goal last night and the late goal by Driussi against the Earthquakes last night, or a couple weeks ago, they'd be in 10th. Or I'm sorry, they'd be in 11th. And so it just goes to show, like, the West is just kind of a logjam. Besides the Seattle and Dallas and San Jose, who are all just bad.
No, but I mean, we're not in a bad spot. Just kind of hang around while we wait for injuries to clear up and maybe bring some guys in. I know we talked about kind of the limits of games being played due to the schedule after the transfer window in the summer, but just hang around and eventually get into the playoffs is kind of the recipe here, isn't it?
I mean, we've already exceeded my expectations in these first 10 games, and we haven't even played the 10th game yet. I thought we'd be lucky to find a point per game. And we're going to get out of here with the minimum 12, depending on what happens next week. So I'm a little stunned, to be honest with you, that we're at the position we are. And yeah, I think there's a real conversation of this that needs to happen. Of this team is probably going to be in the playoff conversation all year long, especially if we can make a few moves in the summer. We know Dessler's coming, which should help us on the back line even more than we already have right now. And I think there's an argument to be made that Gallagher he's not playing that great lately. So we'll get an upgrade there for sure, especially having a natural right back over there. If we can find a little help in the attack, like this is a mid-table team right now in the West, I believe.
And honestly,
Yeah,
I love the idea of Gallagher moving from an everyday starter to being super sub that can play 6 positions.
Yeah.
Yes, and super sub with speed.
Yes.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised to see him play any number of 4 positions, depending on availability. It's going to be very strange for Wolf to have actual options in defense of and having to pick a defense every week. That's going to be very strange.
Yeah, I think we could very easily kind of do a horses for courses thing, home road, Julio, Hedges, Leo, Heinz Ike. Those are all kind of, not necessarily guys who do very different things, but kind of different top skills on a few of them, and mix and match and see what works. And, we said Josh, usually gets kind of the out of the gates game plan, at least partially right. Could be a good way to make sure we're not getting, blown off the pitch in the first half.
I mean, there's also the opportunity to go with 3 center backs and kind of unleash Bureau and Gallagher on the wings, which I would like to see at some point.
Yeah, I still think that's the long-term, or should be considered part of the long-term plan or options, just based on personnel. Mm-hmm. And I mean, that, helps Bureau, helps Gallagher. I don't know Dessler a ton, but he seems like he's kind of fitting in that mold, at least from the little bit I've seen. Helps Hector, who's probably not going to play a ton of minutes, but if you need to plug a guy in, he's definitely more of that, 3-5 at the back kind of wing back than the please have actual defensive responsibilities kind of guy.
Yeah, and also just giving Bureau somebody to link up with. He kept trying to kind of play 1-2s last night, and whoever he passed it to kept losing the ball while he was making runs past them. So it'd just be nice to see an actual overlapping left back.
Yeah. It's weird how many more possibilities we have after last night now. Yeah, I guess we'll go ahead and do the conversation. Does anybody still want Josh Wolf as the coach now after seeing that result or our results for the past month?
No.
I mean, if we look at it, okay, yes, we've got 9 points from the last 4 matches. That is a fact. Should Josh Wolf be fired immediately? No. Is Josh Wolf the long-term coach of this team in my mind? No. At this point, I honestly, I don't know. My ideal world is that we play well enough that he keeps his job, not because I love Josh Wolf or anything, but because I don't want to see Austin FC be terrible. But at the same time, if we can finish top 7 in the West this year, he's going to finish out his contract.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still Wolf out. I don't think that the last 4 matches negate the previous year and a half. But also, and Brad kind of touched on this, is we saw things last night that Josh was forced to do that worked, which is he wasn't allowed to play Julio. The defense looked better. The team played better. He wasn't allowed to play Owen. He had to play CJ. CJ gets the assist. And then he kind of sat back in a way that wasn't the way that Austin had been sitting back, which was much more passive. They played much more aggressively. They put a lot more pressure on Houston. Those are all things that we've been wanting. If the team plays better because Josh Wolf is finally recognizing all the things that we're recognizing, then great. That'd be awesome. Coaches can improve as people, just like players can improve. I just think this is a blip in a longer term pattern.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Brett.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm right there with you. I think that's the exact point. I don't think Wolf is the long-term guy here. Seth's right. You can't make a move right now, because we objectively have 1, 3, or 4. But if you're forced into playing the guys that the fans have been calling to play for quite a while now, and some of the moves that we made, it takes either injuries or red cards to see, like, hey, our yellow card accumulation to go, hey, this actually works. That's a problem to me, because I think next week Josh reverts back to the lineups that we've been seeing. And I think
I don't think Owen's going to be healthy for next week, from my understanding. I believe he's going to be out a little while.
Fair. My bigger concern is Cascante playing next week, to be honest with you. Especially against the attack that we're going to face against Galaxy.
You don't want to watch him chase down Galaxy's attackers?
But you have to take the 3 wins in a vacuum, I think, and look at them, because it's easy to say, well, they've won 3 of 4, but 2 of the wins were at home against the absolute 2 worst teams in the league. And you needed a comeback in both of those to win. And the San Jose game, you needed a 100-minute goal to get the victory. Otherwise, you're walking out of there with just 1 point. Last night, honestly, I got no complaints about last night. I thought we were going to potentially walk out of there with a 0-0 draw. I was going, all right, well, that's solid. But am I supposed to forget about what I saw in Kansas City just last week? St. Louis just last week? No. I can't let that out of my mind. That was a shit performance. Am I supposed to forget everything that happened in March and early Feb? No, I can't do that, because the totality of the season still is just like, okay, it's fine. Points are nice for now, but, and I mentioned this last night somewhere else, but start showing me what we can do against better teams. Last night was a step in that direction. But what are we going to do at home against a Galaxy? How are we going to perform on the road at Vancouver, a place we've never played well, and Vancouver's been very good this year? Those are the things I need to start seeing. If we can pull out 4 points, let's say, the next 2 weeks, you have my attention. Because the schedule gets pretty easy after that by MLS standards. Like, there's a ton of winnable games in May.
Yeah, and any points we can kind of scrap now and, clean up and turn draws into wins or losses into draws later, great. I just wanted to bifurcate this and get everybody's kind of on the record opinion. I'm pretty much directly in line with Charles on this. I don't think he's learned anything, and him just doing things that the fans have been screaming for forever, out of necessity or not, doesn't necessarily, fill me with the most confidence. If he keeps doing stuff like that, he shows like some chance of learning or something, or, we're actually improving and we're not just playing this like robot horseshoe of sadness bullshit. Awesome. We're all we don't think Josh Wolf is a good coach, and that's why we want him gone. We're not part of this, like, I don't like Josh as a person, therefore he should be fired, which is a small subset, but a subset nonetheless of the Wolf out crowd. And I just kind of wanted to clear the air with how heated these conversations tend to get, that we're very much in the, no, this is more of a, we don't believe you're good at your job thing, not like I don't like you because you're a dick in press conferences thing.
Yeah, I don't need you to be my best friend. I need you to win games.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and even looking at the stats from last night, like, that's a very un-Wolf-like performance from the team in terms of just like the structure and how they played. Like, we lost possession 67-33. We, lost expected goals by a goal. We got outshot on target in total shots. They made 545 passes. We made 230. Like, it just was a complete opposite of everything Wolf's always said about how he wants to play. And if he's gonna, learn and grow and be like, hey, you know what? Maybe this team isn't good enough to play the possession style that I want to play, and instead we can play like this and win. That would be a huge improvement.
Yeah, that'd be totally fine. And I think part of the reason we're all doubtful of that is that it's year 4.
Yeah, but
to me, this feels like the wins against Frisco and Houston last year that won Copa Tejas that I think saved his job.
I mean, but I'll push back a little bit. I mean, those wins were against depleted squads. Last night, I mean, yes, the Dynamo have a few injuries, but like that was we beat a legit Dynamo team last night. Like let's give him credit for that. He's trying to do something different. Do I think he can get to the level that all of us want him to be at? No. But I think that he is at least he's feeling pressure, and feeling pressure is leading to him being forced to be more flexible and creative, and that's a good thing. And some of that is by force of player availability. Some of that is by public demand. Some of that it's a combination of factors. But like he's in a state of nervous fear, and that's a good thing based on these results.
So you like a wolf that is nervous and fearful?
Yeah, sure.
It's not great for your survival possibilities, but hey. And yeah, I was with Brad too. Even if we had scraped that out 0-0, the way we played, I would have been like, all right, that wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's partially my expectations are so low when we're on the road right now, right? That it's just, oh shit, okay, well that's fine. We got a result, cool. So I'm curious to get your perspective on this, Seth, because you're a little more tuned into some things than we are for sure on some grounds. Where do you think that pressure is really coming from? Is there actual pressure internally now?
I mean, I get to the point here where they have been. Internal ticket sales have been looking fine this year, but I know that there's been a ton of nervousness on their end on Leagues Cup stuff, just around some safety security issues. There's also getting to a point here of Roto has made it pretty clear between the lines that like he's expected to make the playoffs this year. So like I feel like that is the real thing that is driving Josh at this point is like he knows he needs to make the playoffs. We have 12 points after 9 matches right now. If we continue on a 1.33 points per match, that is might be enough to make the play-in game, but probably not. We've probably had a slightly easier schedule than average through these 9 games, which is maybe not what we expected when we started the season. I don't think any of us thought Seattle would be this bad or Orlando would be this bad. So it's been an interesting world of like, we still need to pick up the pace a little more from where we're at to be able to make the playoffs. And I don't know if 8th or 9th is enough to save his job. I think if you win an 8-9 playing game, it's probably enough. But like Roto's made it fairly clear that if we don't make the playoffs, he's gone.
Okay, well, I mean, we'll take that because I think we were all resigned to like what the fuck ever. Josh is finishing his contract.
I think he has to make the playoffs this year.
Okay.
That is me reading between the lines. I don't have an email from Roto being like, here is his contract line of this. Like, no, I don't have that. But missing the playoffs 2 years in a row would be unacceptable to him, especially in a league where, 9 of 14 teams in the West make the playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, I'll be pretty clear. I don't think even if you win the 8-9 game, it counts as making the playoffs, except if you win like the first round, I guess, at that point, yeah, it counts as making the playoffs to me, but
but I think just getting top 9 is enough for the front office at this point, is my understanding.
Sure. And by the way, if Roto did send you an email that said that, like, he should be fired.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I think we talked about this before, right? I think Josh would actually get a little more leeway from this fan base if he was just a little more forthcoming with his thoughts. You know what I mean? Like, he's so robotic in the press conferences and so dismissive of legitimate questions that it turns people off and it turns people against him. And it's a character flaw that he has, for sure. But again, I don't need to like the coach. I just need him to win.
Have any of you guys worked in low-level sales before?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a technique that's pretty common that's called, I don't know if there's like a different technical name for it, but like it's called feel, felt, found. Mm-hmm. And so basically what you do is somebody like fan comes in and says, I'm upset that you keep playing your son in, 5 different positions instead of this other guy that I like more. Doesn't matter whether the fan's right or not. And so, the way you sort of like get people on your side is you go, well, I understand how you feel. XYZ person that I just made up felt the same way when they were in this position. And what they found is that by, thinking if you look at, name shit that Owen's better at than the other player, you'll see things a little more closely from our perspective. And they've always ended up, happier, And Josh does the complete fucking opposite of that over and over and over, where he's just like, no, you're idiots, like, shut up and like what you get. And it just sort of like somebody has to teach him soft skills at some point. And it's like we said a million times, if you're winning, 95 games in a row, nobody gives a shit. It's sort of like endearing and funny, but if you're like on the rocks, like help yourself a little bit.
Yes.
He's the epitome of Nuke Lelouch when he's just learning from Crash Davis. Your shower shoes have fungus on them, Josh. When you're winning 20 games in the show, you're allowed to because you're creative.
Yes.
Yeah. See, I think part of the problem is that he learned how to do press and media as a coach for Berhalter because he does do the same things he does. And so I'm hoping that just like having a better role model, if we're going to extend the analogy of Roto being his Crash Davis, maybe he will get better.
I guess that does sort of work because Roto was mostly working on youth and reserve teams. So he is sort of, stuck in the minors for a while.
If you're going to try to be a mini Berhalter, at least bring the back passes.
Yeah, like some sick dimes, some sick bounce passes.
Seriously.
Or like there are people who like Berhalter because he has a
though.
stupid Nike collection. Like, do something.
Josh doesn't have that level of fashion sense. Like he just wears like whatever like black polo or black button down that like he grabs first.
You mean you don't have the Josh Wolf all black collection from Adidas that you could buy from Fanatics. It would be from Fanatics. It would be $119 for every item, but you'd get free shipping on it.
You know what, though? I respect him staying in the lane and knowing what works. Because you can get a little too crazy with some fashion and then just get made fun of, man. He stays in a lane. He knows that it's going to work, and you can't really say anything about it because it's like, all right, well, it looks good. It looks put together.
Yeah, he can do.
So just to point this out, in the first season, he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He wore 6 different colors of shirts during the first season. In no other season has he worn more than 4. And he keeps limiting it down. This season so far, he only has 2. He's only worn black or white.
This is why we.
I appreciate. I appreciate the hard-hitting journalism of the False Nine there, and I'd also like to thank. I believe it was you who wrote the article there, predicting a loss. And I think right now, with the trajectory of the chickens and Cybertrucks and everything else involved in that, we would encourage the esteemed staff at the False Nine to continue predicting losses for this team because.
Hold on, I believe the chickens are actually predicting losses. Is my understanding. Charles, can you confirm? It's not actually being. So you're just channeling messages from chickens, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. Well, so here's the thing. So I've been trying to handle the chickens this year. The normal chicken handler is off, and so I just don't feel like I'm interpreting their messages correctly. And so maybe I should have just taken some time to really calibrate that before really putting out the predictions. I don't think their chickens are wrong ever. I think they're always correct. I think it's the fallibility of man and trying to interpret them like any religion that really is the problem here.
So what you're saying is you set up your team of chickens perfectly and they're just not executing?
That's the way I feel. That's the way I feel a little long when I go play chicken shit bingo.
Yeah, the chickens have. The chickens have it set up perfectly. It's us who are failing by not being able to understand what they're trying to convey to us.
Okay, yeah, you're right. I got that backwards. All right. Well, that'll be a good promo line, lifting the curtain and telling us how the chickens work. I did at the beginning of this kind of little segment start thinking about what would happen if Josh started dressing like Vincent Kompany, which if you guys don't see his sideline ensemble for Burnley, he wears a full suit, blank, absolute shocking white sneakers and a baseball cap, and he's bald. And so he comes out with this sort of weird combo, tech bro, poor NBA guy thing that's going out. And so I just want to see Josh have a little personality on it. And then he'll do it once and we'll be like, no, for the love of God, never do that again. But just something along those lines where he's showing us a little flavor.
You know what?
I think Josh's hair is too good to be hidden underneath the baseball cap.
Yeah, that's true. He does have nice hair. And while we're saying nice things about Josh, since we didn't get to talk about it last week, the highlight of the St. Louis City game was a fantastic touch he had on the sideline.
Yes.
To kill a ball.
He definitely, from all 8 of us who were up there, definitely got a nice golf clap because that's probably what he prefers over loud cheering.
Yes. He seems like he would fit in my conception of Midwestern fans.
Well, I mean, he's also a huge. I mean, he might actually prefer golf to this game sometimes.
I don't know. We could ask him at some point. If we ever get those sweet press credentials we've definitely applied for. Yeah, so you guys, anything else you want to cover? Should we move into the fun formatty stuff?
Format side.
Format stuff. Okay. Stock rising. Brad, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think it's a guy we set up previously, but I think Brendan Hines-Ike has been really, really good. He's just been a rock back there for us since and earning this starting position that he's seemingly gained over the last 3 or 4 weeks, right? He's always in the right position. I just like the way he plays. He seems to make really good decisions with the ball. He's really good with the ball at his feet as well. And then a double win as well. I think also stock up are my new game day shoes that arrived yesterday prior to the match. Threw my old ones out, and hey, they're 1-0.
Tell us more.
I don't know. They're $45 green, verde, and black shoes I found on Puma.com on clearance side.
Okay. Holy shit! I didn't realize Hines-Ike is 29.
Yeah, he's not our typical 30-plus-year-old center back, right? And I think there's an interesting conversation with Hines-Ike when Väisänen comes back. I want to see those two together because I think that might actually be our best center back pairing.
Well, you might get a whole month of that during Copa America.
I don't know that I want to wait that long.
Yeah, well, I also don't know how fast. I mean, we start to have some midweek matches coming up mid-May, which mid-May ain't that far away at this point.
No. No, for some reason I thought he was like 24. And just like a prospecty guy that we picked up.
No, Hines-Ike has been around the league a while, but he's 29.
Yeah. Okay. Seth, do you want to give us your stock rising?
I'll give it to our rip boy CJ Fodry. I mean, obviously, nice assist. We complimented on him on his play earlier in the pod here, but it is really nice to see him playing in a non-Leagues Cup match. He is a first-team player. He looks like his days of playing for FCito, and we have not mentioned FCito did lose in penalties last night to the Town, who is San Jose 2 rebranded, but they're moving to Moraga, but played at PayPal Park last night. I don't know. MLS Next Pro can make your head hurt. But CJ really shouldn't be playing any more games down there. I mean, it'd be one thing if they were still in the Open Cup, but at this point, CJ is a solid first-team player. And yeah, I don't expect him to be a starter at this point, but would love to see him in a 20, 30-minute bench role on a regular, frequent basis, and especially as we start getting into midweek matches and other things with rotations. Like, he should be fighting for a starting position, and he can make a difference at this level. And it's great to see someone jump from a third-tier level to a first-tier level like he has.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about it a little bit, too. It's not just, hey, is he good enough talent-wise, but even if he's sitting on the bench for a couple weeks, like just the repetition, the getting to know how your schedule works, how all of that works in like a professional first-team environment is valuable. And like, we don't want him stuck on the bench the whole season, but if he doesn't play for a week or two, it's not the end of the world either.
Yeah, I mean, he's 20 years old. Like, we are, yes, Owen is younger than him, but it's like this guy is 20 years old and was in college, 18 months ago. Like, it is like he's still adulting, even though I'm pretty sure we saw a post of him a few months ago buying a place. And if you're 19, 20 years old and buying a place, well, good for you.
Yeah. I don't know what I was doing when I was 19, 20 years old, but the idea of purchasing property was not anywhere close to my fucking mind.
My mind was in a very altered state at 19 and 20 years old.
I was going to say, I think that was very much the good old days of I have X amount of money in my bank account until my next paycheck hits. That's how much money I have to spend. When life is simpler. Charles, do you have a stock rising you want to hit?
I was going to say stock rising Danny Pereira playing defense. I thought that he did a much better job of covering back than we normally see. And I think part of that was he was not forced to try to cover for center backs being out of position, and was just kind of able to have the ball in front of him, see the game, and that really helped him to be able to solidify the defense.
Yeah, and it's a little less dribbling, but I feel like he gets more space when he actually manages to recover the ball and dribble out. Because there are a few where he just ran 50, 60, 70 yards yesterday once he recovered the ball and nobody could touch him. So it's nice there too. I'm going to combo a little bit off of Seth's, and I'm going to choose Philip, the oldest of the suffering from Joy Corgis. Because after the last FCTO match, CJ was very depressed and he was sad because he didn't play well. And I think he was still, upset about not being on the first team yet. And oh my God, what a save. We made him pet Philip to cheer him up, and he smiled a little bit and started talking to us about his dog, and we didn't want to be creepy and be like, yes, we've met your dog several times. But after that, we were like, okay, you know what? For sure, the next time you get on the field, we thought it would be for FCTO, you're going to get some sort of goal involvement. And that came true, so we've just decided that Philip is magic. And if somebody's in a slump, we're going to bring him around to the training center and make them pet him.
I mean, Philip is magic, so...
Yeah, he is. And he has a sweet battle jacket.
Yeah.
So, stock rising Philip. And I guess let's do stock fallings. If you need to reach back into the City game, go for it. But Seth, you want to lead off?
I'm gonna choose one from this game. I'm going to choose our friends at El Bataillon and the Dynamo team for having a tifo that I looked like it was printed and didn't have a message on it. And somehow their fans fell even lower. And we didn't bring that many fans to Houston last night. And on the broadcast, you could hear our fans a good third to half of the time. And that is really sad. Even though the non-supporter section attendance last night was not terrible by Houston standards, but it was still what is going on there? And their stock can somehow fall further. So I will say that the Chuds on the Dynamo side, stock falling.
Can I add something to that for you real quick?
Yeah, of course. Go ahead.
So, to my recollection, Houston has unveiled 2 tifos against Austin during all of our games down there. Those happen to be the only 2 times we've won in Houston.
Nice.
So, I assume that there will be no one should ever point this out, and we are apologizing for pointing this out. And we gratefully request future tifos in every match.
Yeah. I was going to ask if maybe it was such a terrible tifo because our friends at Texas Tifo Solutions had an inside job, and maybe Houston ordered it from them and they decided to sabotage it just because they love Austin FC that much.
Okay, was the tifo front office based then about their new mascot? Because I couldn't tell what was supposed to be on the picture.
Yeah, I had no idea what that was.
Also, their mascot is named Diesel. That makes the Chevron Community Corner seem like a model of corporate social responsibility.
At Shell Energy Stadium. Yeah. Brad, how about you? Stock falling?
It's a guy who didn't even see the field last night, Julio Cascante. I think there's an argument to be made that Julio Cascante is currently the best, or the 4th best center back on this roster. You look at the goal last week against St. Louis. There was a combination of problems in that goal, but he was one of them. And then you look last night and the games that he hasn't played this year. I feel like we have just been a more compact and decisive. We've seen more compact and decisive play at the center back position when he's not on the field. He gives us stuff going forward and in the attack for sure, that maybe some of our other players don't at the center back position, specifically Hedges. I think Heinz Eich's really good with the ball at his feet, like I mentioned earlier. Vicenen, we know, can play a little bit with his feet, although he makes some questionable passes. But from a defense-first standpoint, he's the weak link right now. And while I don't have a problem with him starting games, and I certainly don't have a problem with him, in the midweek rotations and things, there's a real argument to where he needs to be on the bench more often than not right now.
Yeah, we need a late game striker sub.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put him up top. Charles, how about you? Stock falling?
I'm gonna put my stock falling is announcers who aren't Adrian Healy calling Austin FC matches.
Yeah.
Kevin Kerr last night, he he tried to make an analogy about Austin playing disjointedly, like the separation of church and state, which I think anybody who lives in Texas will tell you doesn't exist. He used the term do-rag, which I don't think we use in 2024 anymore. He made a claim that Austin's bench was short because they're the quote walking wounded when there's only 2 players out. If you look at like the MLS injury report, there's a lot of teams have 5 or 6 guys out right now. And then of course the worst call of the night, which I think was by the play-by-play guy whose name escapes me, was there was a time when Zardes got the ball in space, and he said that quote Zardes gets the ball with pace going forward. And I don't know if everybody realizes that you can't use Zardes and pace in the same sentence as a positive. That's just not what exists in 2024.
Yeah, I'm not going to use it, but one of my potential moments of suffering was when Zardes got a yellow card because Driussi played a great lead pass to him and just couldn't catch up to it, and the defender tracked it and he had to haul him down. You know what? I actually, let's do a little bit on Zardes here, just since he got brought up. I think, he was trying, he was making smart plays, but the legs just aren't there. And I think we got to start looking at him in like Will Bruin is 10 minutes too much territory. Because, I mean, it's not like he's doing his, I just don't know what the hell I'm doing. I'm just going to go be a chaos agent thing. Like, he's making smart plays. He just can't run.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
even to get the
he's
ball
a
to
great
the corner.
example of, he's just a great example of like Father Time's undefeated. And like, once like that gets you, like, there's no coming back.
Yeah, I just need to clip that up and make it a button that I can press for every time you want to say it. Yeah, so my stock falling, I had a couple choices here. I'm going to go with Ethan Finley because, he hasn't been playing much this year, and he usually kind of runs around a bit off the bench, and he's kind of fine. And I think his biggest contribution yesterday in a game we won, he's basically a ghost except for when he was standing right in the way of Alex Ring having a good opportunity at the end of the first half. I don't know if he's kind of getting the Father Time thing too, or if he's just lacking some confidence, or we weren't getting the ball to him or anything like that. But he wasn't doing a ton on defense. Like, normally he's very regimented and useful on tracking back, but wasn't doing anything going forward, wasn't doing well with the ball when it did come to him, wasn't doing a ton on defense. So I don't know if he's just sort of at the age curves are catching up to you time or what, but it's not looking great at the moment. Any thoughts from y'all on that?
No, I think it's been evident for most of the season that he's kind of getting to that point, right?
Yep.
It's nothing against him. It's just, you get older, you get miles on the legs, and it happens.
Yep.
Same thing we're seeing with Jossie. So I think he's going to become a little more, if he wasn't already that kind of midweek starter for us most of the time. He was forced into action last night because Owen didn't play, right? But I don't think it's going to be too long before you see somebody like a Fodre take over the Finley spot, because Fodre offers more pace, and I don't see that you're losing anything with Fodre on the field versus Finley on the field.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is part of it's his position. Yeah. Like, you can get by in certain parts of central midfield or as a center back without pace, especially like depending on your system. You can't really do that out on the wing.
Yeah.
And I mean, we talk about a little bit, that's a little bit of Owen's problem, but if Owen's faster than you and, a better crosser and a little quicker moving the ball, like, why wouldn't you play him? So we'll see. Brad, you want to go ahead and do your moment of suffering?
I think it was realizing after the goal went in and we were going to go win at this game, that the endless wolf out, wolf in debate was just ramping right back up. it seemed to pretty much quiet down lately because pretty much everybody was looked to be going towards the same direction of, yeah, this is just done. And now the nuanced thinking that we've been trying to do about it today is just going to go by the wayside, and folks are it's going to be spewing crap back and forth again.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're all tired of doing that, but it's going to keep cropping up. So we'll probably have some twists and turns and talk about it some more in the next few weeks. But I don't think our opinions are going to change a super ton. So I figured we'd go ahead and get out ahead of it today.
Oh, I'm not talking about us necessarily. I'm talking within the fan base.
Yeah, I know. But that way we can just kind of point to it and be like, look, we said this 4 weeks ago. Our opinions haven't changed.
Yeah.
At least that's my read on it. Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and do mine. Mine is when Hector Herrera came on, because I hate people with very American sounding accents just saying ache wantonly and repeatedly, like every 30 fucking seconds. And it just annoys the shit out of me. It doesn't, help that he's a pretty good player and plays for a rival. There was also this weird bit where he was the announcer was talking about Hector Herrera like he's Kevin De Bruyne and not like a guy whose entire career has been as a complete hatchet man for a team full of hatchet men. Yeah, but Seth, you want to do yours? Because I suspect Charles's might have just changed.
Yeah, no. Well, I'm going to do mine is actually less related to the match. It's just like working. My biggest moment of suffering, honestly, was before the match, because doing our away stuff, like just planning Houston away is always a pain, because none of us were in Houston last night, but they're doing all sorts of construction around the stadium. There's all sorts of BS to deal with around that. So I'm actually proud to say that last night was not actually that much suffering on the field. There was way more suffering leading up to the match, which that's a good sign. I wish it was like that more of the time. I don't wish to have the BS of all the other stuff that we have to deal with, but I will say in a not-so moment of suffering, an Austin business, Luster Pearl, has opened up within 3 blocks of the stadium, and it sounds like they did a great job hosting everyone tonight. And we actually have a game plan for fans, and hopefully a game plan to continuously win matches in the swamplands, in the energy-filled swamplands of Southeast Texas.
Nice. Yeah. Oh, they just opened in Houston by the stadium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Sorry, I thought you were saying next to Q2 at first. And
No, they've not opened. I mean, I will say, it's really interesting, because I will not, as I think I've explained to all of you independently at points, I don't watch sporting events at the Luster Pearl East location in Austin, because I've watched 2 of the worst, all-time suffering from joy moments. I watched Cueva there, which was obviously, I don't need to explain anything more about that. And I also watched the 21-point Cincinnati, Nevada meltdown in the that must have been 2017. It was the year the Final Four was in San Antonio meltdown, where that was horrendous as well. But I don't watch sporting events there, but I guess pre-gaming there is fine. The owners are nice.
Yeah, I mean, that's always good. And, they already have a relationship with kind of the Austin FC fan base. So it's nice. I have delayed as much as possible. Charles, do you have a moment of suffering for us?
I mean, I'm just living it right now. Here's the thing: I don't live a charmed enough life. I mean, I don't live a charmed enough life for both my teams to win within 15 hours, 16 hours of each other. So I was expecting bad things, but then you in our group chat messaging about being worried about penalties and about Hodge Wright, and both of those things look like they're going to be happening right now. Maybe you should be picking the games instead of the chickens. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to test that.
Yeah, and for those of you who are listening to this on delay, we've been recording during the FA Cup semifinal. Manchester United was up 3-0, and recently gave up a penalty scored by American Haji Wright. And I was trying to dance around that getting taken, and the call and when they reviewed it, so Charles could catch his breath before we went through and finished this up here. But
I assume you just didn't want a 30-second rant of me cursing over and over again.
No, that would be great if you want to go for it. We can start clipping it up and drop the stuff on YouTube, and you'll be the next Mark Goldbridge.
I was about to say, but you know what? He's still less angry than the owners of Nottingham Forest today, who I'm double checking if their tweet is still up, posted one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen an official club. It is still up. It has 16 million views of 3 extremely poor decisions, 3 penalties not given, which we can simply not accept. And like openly calling the VAR a Luton fan on your official team account is just, wow. We have
That's
not
a good way to
level.
actually face sanctions. It's a little more than just saying disgracia.
Like, you have an appeal in front of the in front of the league authorities. Like, if they wanted to deduct more points and actually send them down, they have a reason to do this.
Well, that's amazing because they shouldn't be in the Premier League in the first place because the playoff final they won against Huddersfield was a complete fucking sham.
Yes, it was.
I will also say that all 3 of those decisions were Ashley Young related, and the world still owes him karma because a bird shit in his mouth on live international television, which he denies, but there's fucking video of it. And so maybe the universe is just kind of saying, you know what, buddy, maybe you need these. You've had a hard one lately. So maybe it's just helping him out. So we're all over the place today. Quick preview, Galaxy, we kind of touched on a little bit coming up. Early game, Saturday it's the official kickoff, like 12:53 or something.
12:55 on Fox and Apple TV. We'll see. I was looking at the weather. Obviously, predicting weather 6 days out in Austin is never an easy thing, but there's projecting some thunderstorms that morning, might be up in the 80s. Hopefully it is mildly uncomfortable for those folks in Carson that aren't used to this thing called humidity.
Yeah, I think the other thing to think about with that game is that's an 11 a.m. kickoff on the body clock for the Galaxy. Yeah. So that I'm curious to see how they play. When do they fly in? Are they going to fly in on Thursday? Do they come in Wednesday to try to give themselves a little more extra time to adjust on the body clock? I'm just curious about how they approach this week.
Or do they start practicing at like 8 a.m. at home?
Yeah. Yeah,
they could do the whole thing where people start inverting their meals, whether they're going to fly like to Europe or something. This is a huge thing they explained to me, and I was just like, oh, that's really weird. I just eat food when I'm hungry.
But they also
you can eat any food at any meal. Like you're an adult, you can just do that.
Breakfast for dinner is great. Like, what are you talking about?
But they also draw the late game tonight, right? So
the late game is a 5:15 local time kickoff.
Sure, but they didn't play yesterday, I think is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that is a day less of recovery time to then turn around and play the earliest possible game on Saturday. It's an interesting timing for them to be coming in. But it might be the game I'm most excited to see as far as a road team coming in this year because I think they have the most fun, high-flying attack in MLS, and I want to see that team play.
Yeah, and I'm sure there will be plenty of narratives. He's probably going to be on the bench, but Diego coming back, all of that fun stuff. And yeah, we'll talk about it for sure. But I don't think there's anything crazy. Like, we're talking about them being on 1 day shorter rest, but like, this isn't like these European teams who are playing 5 games in 13 days or something.
I was going to say, it's not like a Klopp going on. We had to play in Rome on Wednesday night, and BT Sports scheduled us for a 12:30 kick on Saturday. Why are they doing this to us? Like, I don't have sympathy for Greg. Greg Vanny will not do that.
I think Klopp has a point on that, but he doesn't complain when it happens to other teams. So,
of course not.
Arsenal is about to, on Tuesday, play 4 games in 10 days for the second time this month.
After you guys had 19 days off.
Yep. So it's, and I mean, part of that was an international break.
Yes.
Weird FA Cup scheduling and stuff. So, it happens, but I don't think that, the MLS way you get crunched, maybe if you're flying out for CCCC or something. I think I had one too many C's there, but that I sort of get, but a day less on rest, I don't think it's going to matter. I do think the body clock thing might actually matter a little bit. But, they could fly in Wednesday, they could fly in Thursday, they could just say, screw it, come Friday, and then, try to mess with a sleep schedule or something. But I mean, they're professional athletes, they have professional trainers. I'm sure they'll have a plan.
I mean, I feel the plan is just practice at that time every day this week. Like that just seems like the obvious one to me. I mean, sometimes schedule congestion is just a thing. Like I'd be much more worried when when we start to get more midweek matches in May about rest than now.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at. You know, it's still 6 days. It's not like 3 or 4 or something. And you're still mostly in your rotations there.
I mean, and if you look at our midweek schedule, like the 15th, which is the first one that's midweek, is Houston at home. And then we play Sporting KC back at home. We have a little bit of a tough one. The next one is we have Portland at home Wednesday, and then we're in Utah to play RSL on Saturday. That's a little bit of a short turnaround. Let me look at what RSL has that week, because that would be, if they get 2 home matches in a row, that'd be a little hard. And like RSL's looking like they might be a top 3 team in the West. They're looking good.
The most brutal one is later in the year. Team plays at Toronto and then actually goes straight to LA for LAFC a few days later.
But there's an extra. It's like I think that's a Saturday to Wednesday rather than Wednesday to Saturday. So there's
my understanding is they're also going straight to Los Angeles from Toronto.
Yeah, that's probably not a bad idea.
Yeah, I would think you would almost have to at that point, but. I mean, are we like, let's do a quick hitter predictions. I'm going to say like 3-1 Galaxy. Like we're going to try, but they're a pretty good team. And I think what they do well is something we don't defend well. Charles, we'll get you in real quick here. Quick prediction.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking the same. Like I think Galaxy is a team that is both good and the way they score will give Austin problems even at home. That's the one match where I think it really could get out of hand scoring wise.
Yeah, I'm a little worried about that, but hopefully we can kind of keep it together a little bit and not lose our heads. Seth, quick prediction.
I'd say 2-0 Galaxy. I mean, I don't see where the goals come from against them. Even like their back line is not as strong as their attack, but that's implying that they won't just be attacking us all match. And we know how great Austin FC is at counterattacks.
Yeah. Well, we got our secret weapon of a long ball to CJ, heading it on to Wriggles now. So,
yeah.
Brad, how about you?
I think we're going to try to play this game kind of the way we played this past one against Houston. I don't think we're going to come out looking to possess and attack a whole lot at home like we usually do. We're going to sit back and absorb pressure, and Galaxy's just too good. This is probably going to be, I'm with you, I think 3-1, 3-2, somewhere in that range.
Yeah. And I think this might be like a Julio bangs one in on a set piece kind of goal, not like we have a nice little free flowing thing and we end up with a nice shot, or Driussi does, pulls out a miracle or something. I think it'll be kind of like a scrappy goal if we do score.
Yeah. If you haven't seen Galaxy play this year, and for those out there listening, they're just so much improved over last year with the additions they've made. And their attack is wildly fun to watch. If you're listening before the game tonight, turn on the game tonight against San Jose and watch the Clasico, because it's going to be fun as far as just watching a team fly up and down the field and score goals.
But only if you're not watching the NHL playoffs.
You can. There's 2 screens.
Yeah, that's true. YouTube TV has a NBA and NHL dual wield now, which is pretty awesome.
And tonight's game is on FS1 too, so like you don't even need to like have an Apple TV separate window. Okay,
there you go. Get the laptop out, or do split screen, or do something.
I was going to say, as Brad's Avs go up to Winnipeg, so we'll see who's skating faster.
Yeah. All right. Well, now I think we've done that full circle, and that was kind of impressive by us. We did that totally on accident. Awesome. On behalf of Brad, Seth, and Charles, who's definitely still doing this, thanks for suffering with us. Bye.
Promise here for Austin Jarrett Stroud. It's Diego, for goodness! He has written his name into Austin folklore.
They just won't go away.
Oh, he hits the upright again. That's impossible.
The Bears' season's going to end on a double doink.
Altidore squares it. Dempsey's missed it. Donovan has it. From hope, there is glory.